Hey dudes, it's your friend, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Come join me in the circle with my bearded brother, Howlingbuds, the poet laureate himself, Stoney Alpinist, and of course, the better half of Frapple and my friend, Johnny Apple. Pass to the left and let's have some fucking fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back, much to your dismay. I want to introduce all my dearest friends today. We'll start with the best, the one. I'm echoing like a sumbitch. What's up, Johnny Apple?
It ain't me. I think it's Howling.
Fucking Howling. We'll introduce Howling right now, and when he just might.
See the echo disappear. He went mute.
What's up, Howling? Say it in your echoey ass.
Oh. Oh. Happy Sunday, everyone.
There you go. Stoney.
Quietly over here with my mic on. And
thank you for not echoing. And of course, my very special guest, Alebrije, joining us for what is just a regular point. You know, it's an appointment now. We love you. Thanks for joining us again.
Happy to be back as always.
Now, this one's a little special, so I'm going to kick it off to people who are more technically skilled than me, unless I insult an entire group of people. So let's move it on to Stoney. What's up, boss man?
I'm insulted you wouldn't pass that to me.
I worry very much about every group of people that you insult.
Thanks for everyone for digging what we do here, and I'm glad to be sitting around. Thanks for putting us in your ear, having our friend on Alebrije Genetics, and one of the things that we're right at the tail end of this month, and one of the things that we were all kind of rushing to get around. If you've been over on his Discord and you've seen been around ours, is getting seeds into soil for a bonsai grow along that he's got going. So we, he dropped a line to us earlier and said, "Hey, let's get on and talk a little bit of bonsai and get into it a little bit more." And there's a lot of information that's out there. There's some folks that are doing some things online, Instagram, some stuff in books, and some incredible work going on. And quite frankly, I think what our community is starting to pull out here over the last couple months and seeing some of the things that are already in soil is pretty amazing. So I'm going to talk a little bit of bonsai this evening. So thanks again for joining, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I thank you guys for having me and being willing to chat about the topic. Especially you, Stoney, as our former bonsai champion winner from last year's Grow Along.
It was rigged.
It was totally rigged, yeah. Tell us more about the actual grow along. Let's set the stage a little bit with that one, and then we'll start to ramble out from there.
Excuse me. Yeah, so the bonsais they're little Cannabonsais. Let me clarify. We're not growing very old plants. These are all autoflowers, but we're doing them in really small pots, half liter or smaller, half gallon. That would be a 2-liter pot or smaller. And it's something I've been doing over the years just for fun. I saw it somewhere online and it looked like a good time. And I had some mystery seeds and had a small little artistic ceramic pot. And this was about 4 years ago. I did my first one and it was tiny. And I learned it wasn't about, producing a big yield or the best quality smoke. It was really just for fun and just for the aesthetic look of it. And it, I trained it over to the edge a little bit and added some little river stones to the soil. And it was just about the art and the look of it. And so I've kept doing them over the years, and I often move them out into a common living space in my house, either probably somewhere in the kitchen, most likely. But I like to just look at them through the day. It's not at all about the smoke or the size of the plant. It's really just for the fun of growing it. And so I figured it would be fun to kind of do it with a big group and see what everybody came up with and see all sorts of little different pots going on and different strains. The only, stipulation was just to choose one of my seeds and, throw it in the soil sometime in September. And, over the next few months, we're going to watch them grow. And, we have a few prizes for different categories, but it was really just about the community coming together just for a little fun project. And it's also something I figured that everyone has space to grow a tiny little plant, whether it's just in the corner of your tent, mine is totally, my tents are maxed out. And so I used a little hanging pot. Mine's actually not taking up any tent space.
So cool.
And it's just hanging off one of the little top, railings of my tent. And it's actually in a tent with tangy tiboguana pollen flying around with it. And it's already got seeds growing in it. So it's totally just for fun. It's going to be an interesting little project that comes out of it.
Yeah, I think that's the main key. Is it's just a little side fun project that I know that's kind of how I came to it over the course of, I guess it's been over a year now, and it was with the tangy tiboguana grow along, and secretly I was really anxious about starting the grow along. It had only been my second true actual grow. And so I really thought, hey, if I'm going to try and document this thing, because these meatheads, Johnny and Rev, dragged me in to do it. And it was like, it was Johnny that was like, yeah, it was you, dude. You can fly me any bird you want. But it was you that was like, just put seeds in the ground and just do it, man. Don't worry about it. So it was that last little push that I needed into it. So I actually planted 3. And I had little seedlings going along thinking, I'm going to mess at least one of these up. You're always so generous with the amount of seeds that comes along with it. And I thought, well, I'll just pick the best of the 3 and I'll see if I can make this work and see if I can get it to go along. Well, that was the tangy tiboguana, and I had 2 left. And I am one of those sorry saps that's hard to throw away seedlings. And so at that time, I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was same thing, kind of just poking around. I think I'd been on Instagram, and somehow some Cannabonsai had popped up, and I'd seen some growing, and I thought, what an interesting kind of concept. I always thought it was really cool. Bonsai, I'd seen some pretty serious gardens living on the West Coast, and seeing some incredible specimens that were 30, 40 years old. And I think, that kind of started me down this little rabbit hole to learn a little bit more. And to your point, what we're doing with Cannabonsai is really a crafty, we can really call it a fancy way or a bougie way of doing LST, right? It's not that much different to it. We kind of take along these methods and techniques just as chefs do. We understand all the little things that are going on. We take little parts and elements of the art and create it into something that what it is. But true bonsai in its form is a tradition. It's an art form. And oftentimes these trees that are put into bonsai, they spend 20, 30, 40 years, and they're handed down and they're passed along to different people. And they're rerouted, and there's a lot of effort. And so when we talk about these autoflowers and what we're going to be talking about over the course of this conversation, that's what all we grow. They grow so rapidly. They're really a perfect specimen for what we want to do in this sort of fun training. So back to where I was going with it, I had those 2 little seedlings, and I'm sitting there going, well, I don't really want to waste them. And so I kind of tucked them into a pot, and I started going down the road of bonsai. And I kind of was like, I was going to do this in the background. And then I caught you in a conversation of Discord, and something came up about it. And you're like, oh yeah, I do them all the time. And I was like, that was the last little bit of validation, because I'll be frank with you, it was very new in my grow. And so I'm looking at these seeds and I'm going, man, if one of these seeds is going to yield me, if I grow this in the best way, a large amount. Now I'm going to just grow a very small one. Well, I had the one that I needed, and now I had these extras. Why not give it a go? So I put 2 into 1 gallon pot. I picked some up, like a square rectangle one, and one had a couple spots on it already because it wasn't the best looking one, and one had kind of drooped over, right? Because the 2 and 3 out of the top. So I named one Lucy, and one was named Dottie, and those 2 rode all the way out. Those 2 I grew. Those were the ones that won. And if I remember correctly, we didn't even have a bonsai category. So yes, Rev, it was totally rigged because we came up with it when a few of us started messing around with it.
Let me interject. So the reason the tangy tiboguana grow along all started was because Johnny and Rev were gonna just grow it in solo cups together, I believe.
Yeah.
That's right.
So the original grow along was supposed to just be this tiny little grow that they were going to do. And it's actually what I believe sort of kicked off YAG in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sort of brought them together a little bit more.
Frapple.
Yeah. It just so happens our 1-year anniversaries are the same couple weeks, basically, within a few weeks of each other.
No, we all planned it so you would have some kind of sense of commitment to coming on here. It's really all just to get right at your heartstrings.
No, I love that. And
Again, this episode is sponsored by Alebrije Genetics.
No, it all started this small, and then so many people were inspired by hearing you talk about it on Cultivation Conversation that it started to take off. And so when we started doing all the beginning rules, it grew into what it ended up being, which was just super successful. And
but that's why I wanted you guys to be a part of it again, is because it kind of has this history with your average grow, and you know, it's cool to have you guys joining along, and also, you know, I hope providing some commentary along the way. I love hearing all the shout outs. I'm an avid listener of the show.
Well, we thank you. It is in your contract, but no, we appreciate it, man. Above everything, before anything, of course, is we're friends, and we just enjoy chatting. You know, like when we get together, we hit the record much
dude,
later.
Above all that, your shit is fucking fire,
Well,
man.
That's true.
Let's get fucking real.
Now that we're going to start the ball washing, every conversation I see now about people with recommending autoflowers, Alebrije's in there, and it makes me prouder than shit, dude. It is what an amazing thing to see. And you never fail. I've never seen a comment other than people getting pissed that your shit sold out. Those will always make me laugh. But you know, like I see that the amount of people getting dedicated tents growing, and it warms my heart, man. Now I will start getting upset when I start missing out on shit I want, but we'll talk about that later.
You'll always be covered, man.
Yeah. But no, seriously, the ball washing is well worthwhile. But I wanted to say he was a friend first, Johnny. Jesus.
Well, yeah, a good friend.
Speaking of which, the 1 year, sorry, another interruption. Johnny's got a tangy going right now that is his fucking best tangy that he's grown so far.
No, it's not. I don't think it is, man. I think the one we did during the grow along, that fucking hydro one I did with the cocoa, I think this one triggered like 4 or 5 days sooner than that one did, because I went back and looked at some pictures, and it looks like this one triggered a little bit earlier, and I can't explain why, because she's been growing great. She's in the big bed. I've been keeping up on watering. Absolutely phenomenal. I've been filling the fucking dehydrator. Like, it's spot on. The conditions have been perfect, but she looks like she triggered it. It's like, fuck.
Oh, man.
So I think I'm seeing pre-flowers for sure. So I know she's going to be, and I had this like one long stretch, but I think she's going to be beautiful because I haven't done anything. I just bent over the top just a little bit. I didn't top this one. I didn't play around. I've just been trying to fucking give her the best, because this was my last tangy tibaguana seed.
Oh no.
So this was like all of them, all the F1s, I've grown them all out, all the fucking F2s, this was the last one I had. I was like, fuck it, man. I am going all out on this one. And she looks really good, but I'm starting to see pre-flowers now. I think I'm like, yesterday was day 21, I think, through the soil. So
that's pretty spot on. And she'll give you a little more stretch in the next couple of weeks too. You know, you'll get a little more size on her, I'm sure.
I'm hoping.
But
she's in the big bed, in the 4x4. She's in the 3x3 bed. I've got her, and then Merch's what the fuck was it? The Skywalker cross with Dog Walker cross with
not Dog Walker.
Star Fox.
It's Skywalker Forum Stomper.
Forum Stomper cross with Star Fox, yeah. And that's way shorter. So Tangy's definitely showing her tangy side, and she's definitely stretched out, and she's like twice as tall as the Star Fox cross there, but they're both look really good. Like, I always suck running autoflowers. I always just don't have time. I miss something. I stunt them one way or another, and I'm never like as happy as I would have been if I crushed it. You know what I mean? So I'm always like, fuck, man, autoflowers. It's just like, oh god, fucking damn it. But no, these ones look great, so I'm super excited for this one. Yeah,
you live a photo period lifestyle.
I do, man. I'm a fucking lazy motherfucker is what the truth is. I ain't got time for fucking growing anymore. So it's just like, oh man, I check in on him and then forget about it. It's like, fuck, it's been 3 days since I've watered. But and then speaking of Tangy, she's sitting right next to, now this might bring up a sensitive subject because of the pre-talk conversation, but she's sitting next to my mom, which I have bonsai'd? I don't know. My Hella Jelly mom is right next to my Tangy Tibaguana in the same 3x3 tent. Now it's a photo period. I haven't flipped her, so all I'm doing is like I've braided some of the branches, I've twisted some of them together, I've bent one of them, I let grow really tall and then bent it all the way down 180 degrees, and I'm letting it come back up again. It's just, I don't know. It was like, I don't know what else to do to keep a mom. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to put it in the big bed so I don't have to worry about it and then just play with it. So the question I have is that a bonsai or is that a potensai?
Potensai.
Great question.
Turn that over to Stoney, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That
I've
was
used,
so
I've used this good transition, man. I've used that term actually.
Bravo, Johnny.
I've used that the term a few times, even back through the Tangy Tibaguana grow. It was a word that I came across when some of that early research that I dug into right in the very beginning plantings of it. And I think it's some of it a little bit honors the tradition of bonsai. And it's a term that means a lot of people kind of tongue in cheek because we're talking cannabis that it's potensai. But really it is the term that's used for the potential of a bonsai. A bonsai is a finished form. So a tree that's been, you can work on a bonsai for even a short period of time, a year to 2 years, and get it into a form where it's growing, because ultimately it's all about making it look relatively smaller. And so anytime you're in the process of training it, technically it's called a potensai. So in theory, Johnny, I mean, you're to answer your question directly, I believe the loose term, and we're not the Oxford Dictionary, and I'm certainly not the expert in it. And I don't think any of us claim to be. We see a method and technique and a fun little artistic creative outlet for it. And it's potensai. And to your point, when you were talking about the size of those tangies, I remember my tangy was 4 foot plus, and I know everyone, it's a really common trait to see that thing get enormous, and she's just large legged and supermodel, I think was the term. I think I remember like dancing ballerinas and that sort of thing, the terms that were described for it. But in a sense, like in anything that I've seen now that I've done a bunch of these little potensai, these little Cannabonsai pots, everything stays relative. We've talked before on here about going from your bed, the size of your giant bed of soil, relative to an auto pot, relative to an earth box, and then even further down to the solo cup, and we all know everything just kind of stays relative to the size pot. And to me, I think that's what I fell in love with, is the fact that there was so much ease in training, and it was this small kind of relative size plant sitting right next to this giant sister, literally right next to her. And I nursed her all the way through, and then I had these kind of potensai Cannabonsai sitting in the corner, and then when I harvested, I threw them in another tent, and I took them to 117 days, something like that, I think. I just let them go and go and go and go. They hit like a purple phase, and it was more and more back to what you were saying earlier, it's not about the smoke. I mean, and ironically, I found a jar a couple of weeks ago, shuffling through some things. So I wrapped up a whole bit of Lucy just this afternoon, and had it just before the show. All I got was that sort of buttery pound cake note that came through, just very subtle. But a lot of those initial terps, the citrus and the big, huge, wonderful things that I got out of it, I didn't find in it at all. But I also looked at the Sharpied green tape on the jar that said 2-2 of last year. So I wasn't expecting much, but it just felt sort of traditional and honoring to do it. But to the point, like, it's not necessarily about the smoke. There were 2 plants in that gallon, and I think I ended up with I think they filled a large mason jar each. That was it.
Jesus.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, but I was pleasantly surprised with it. But here's where it starts to really get fun, because to what you were saying, Johnny, like, you were in there playing with it. That's, I think, the major fun with this, because autoflowers,
always playing with it.
Yeah, as long as he washes his hands afterwards, we're all fine. But there's something about like being able to go in, and we leave our autoflowers. I'm one of those where I love to see the natural shape happen, and I really only do now some support at the end of it that ironically uses these the bonsai techniques that I had picked up along the way. But I like to let them grow natural. So when I have the Potensai, the Cannabonsai, or whatever I want to, the term we want to call it, it's a lot of fun because every day I'm going in there after about week 2 or so is when I'm really starting to do bends. And it for about a month and a half, every day you can make a major shift in how that thing looks. And it kind of, you start to see it develop in front of your eyes, but you can almost see it in, I know it's some creative minds can look at a chunk of clay or a chunk or a piece of meat or something, and they can visualize and see and taste and get everything out of it. It gets to that spot where after a few days of working with your plant, you start to see what it's going to eventually be. And then trying to make it connect between those two is really the daily fun of it. So I think it adds like this whole nother layer of like connection to your plant that I found that I was too afraid to mess anything up on something that I was really trying to get, my head stash out of. But on this one, if it's stunted or if it whatever, okay, it was cool. And I learned a lot about how much the stress of a plant or how much our flowers can take. Where up to that point, I was like, I don't even want to touch him. I don't want to do anything wrong. It's if I just do one thing wrong, the whole plant's going to die and fall over. And in that process, now I was like, man, you can really beat the shit out of these things. They'll take a licking.
Yeah, on that note, mine today, I'm trying to like wrap it around this little cedar branch I have. And I remember being very afraid to mess with my autoflowers when I first started growing them, and definitely broke a lot. I had a lot of helmet head removals not go so well, but in time, the more you do it, the more you mess with it, the more you just like naturally get that feel of what kind of resistance they can take. And today I'm like wrapping this thing around this branch and putting it through some pretty intense stress, but nothing broke. Everything was
Also,
fine.
I just get high and fuck that up.
Fun.
Also,
yeah, I mean, yeah, and
I mean,
in that
yeah,
case,
I've
it doesn't
been
matter.
twisting and playing, and then just go, oh fuck, I broke another one. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, some people
Still.
take fucking shop vacs to their own plants. I mean, there's just you'll never understand why people do what they do.
Shop vac.
But
That's a form.
yeah,
That's a
no, but you
form.
do.
One
I agree, man. You get a total fucking feel for it.
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
like a
everybody
tenderness
takes off
to it.
branches.
You learn to
sometimes.
like what you can play with and how far you can go with it, and then sometimes you fucking remember you're a man and it's a plant and go, man, snap.
And that's why it's better to learn this lesson, on your Potensai instead of on your head stash plant.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Practice.
All the techniques that you can develop fucking up a solo cup where nobody cares, right? Like this last time, I think I did 6 solo cups of different stuff. And honestly, I got busy, so most of them turned out shit. But I still was able to get a couple joints off every single one and try different shit. But it's nice to be able to I'm going to try this. Oh shit, it didn't work. I don't care. It was a fucking solo cup, man.
Yeah. I mean, even if you get a quarter on a stick, it's still fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still cool, right?
The worst one I did still yielded me enough to smoke 2 decent joints last night, right? Like I consider that a pretty good night because I have to produce those 2 joints somehow. So it really just saved a little off my head stash anyway.
Yeah, and we all have like so many seeds that we're never going to be able to pop in our lifetime, and probably you don't use your favorite seed for this. You use a mystery seed or something you have like a ton of, or something you're not that worried about. The whole thing is going in with that intention of just not being worried about it. It's going to be just for fun, and if you break it, you break it. No big deal. No big loss.
It's the cool R&D part of the grow. I test all kinds of bullshit in those solo cups, and most of the time I'm like, thank God I didn't do that in the earth box.
Totally.
I think there's a lot of people that do these methods and techniques, and I've talked about these quite a bit, and it's just something that's ingrained as an old school chef. We learn these methods and techniques that if you can cut a pork loin, you can cut a venison loin, you can cut any sort of loin of an animal. You just have to understand and apply the methods and techniques. And so getting in and learning these at the same time, like I saw that opportunity for it and I really took the advantage of it. Again, like I said, now when my plants get to that large stage, those last couple weeks and the buds are really heavy, I'm tying those back into the branches, just like I was doing in the very beginning, methods and techniques that I was figuring out on my little Cannabonsai. And then I know that I've never even stepped into scrogging. I've never stepped into some of the major LSD. I've never, topped any of the autoflowers. And those are all steps like, that are normal grower steps that really are methods and techniques that apply to bonsai. I mean, Howler, I know you don't necessarily quote unquote do bonsai or Cannabonsai, but in theory, do you do much training? Something that you've worked with, scrogging, anything along those lines?
Me?
Not anymore, baby.
Yeah.
He's seen his light. He's changed his mind after growing that Hubba Bubba Haze the way I told him to grow it. He has changed his mind completely, and he'll never train another plant.
I just cannot believe the middle finger that shows in that sentence. It sucks. I go and look at it and I'm like, you know what, you're pretty beautiful, but you're giving me the fucking finger. And it makes me hate you, Rev.
You should be fairly used to getting the middle finger from pretty people. No, dude, Howling is like so good at the training techniques. I think it's like a direct correlation too. Like he's very technical with it, and his skills would translate well.
It's pretty. I mean, for what I do, it's pretty basic because I have such a large amount of material to work with when I bend and stuff and stretch it out. But like with a bonsai plant, you're dealing with inches, or partial inches that you have to make this bend in. And I even saw something recently because I know nothing about this in the training techniques. So like of course there is what we do with like LST, and we might do I really love the Stoney-esque type bondage that goes on with the different colored ropes and stuff and the knots. But like that's the start of
Stoney's
it.
a
But
freak.
then but I saw some videos of like people that'll make like little with like a razor blade will make little slits that way it bends easier and stuff. And I'm just curious, like for those that do enjoy doing bonsai of any sort with any kind of plant, like I'm just curious, what is the craziest type of training that you've done? Because cutting with a razor blade into a fucking plant seems pretty damn crazy to me. Like I would never do that to my cannabis plants. Like it'd just be like I feel like they were crying at me when I would do it. So
Sounds
I'm
like I'd
really
lose
curious.
a finger.
Yeah, well, that too. So I'm just curious, like for anyone that like does take this a little bit seriously, like Stoney or Alebrije, like what is the craziest type of training that you've done?
The coolest technique I've done so far, I don't know, crazy or what, but it was just really fun and was planting the seed. I used a cut solo cup stacked on top of a labradorite crystal and then packed in soil around that and then planted my seed well on top of that. I let the roots grow down over it for the first month to 6 weeks or so, and then removed the solo cup, rinsed the excess soil, and sort of exposed the roots. And by that point, they were going down into, I was doing it in this Buddha head pot. I found it TJ Maxx and was like, oh, that'll just be cool for a bonsai. I have to have it. And then so the Labrador looked kind of like a brain, and this weed was sort of like growing out of its brain, and it just had a neat look to it. And as you expose the root, it hardens off and turns green and sort of develops that tougher skin. And it's again just another part of the plant that you don't normally do that, and you don't normally see that transformation. We're always very careful to mulch our plants or at least do a good job maintaining that top layer of soil. But by intentionally washing it away, you can see different parts of the plant. And another just point to that is a lot of the reason I like doing this is just finding fun different little pots, and we've seen a few really fun ones pop up in the grow along so far. I think one of my favorites is Captain Jehu's Dick Tracy lunchbox.
Yeah, that was cool.
It's pretty fun.
There's quite a cool one. K-pop's got the skull with the 2 growing out the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, growing in the
Growing the
mittens,
mitten,
got that
yeah.
crazy double-headed woman is
There's
cool.
all of the pots are beautiful. Mine, big surprise, is going to be a frog. That should be going in here soon. But you're right. To one of the cool things about it are all the pots, but it also really gets to show all your friends like their creativity, man. Like it's awesome looking at everybody see something and put it together. Just shows their kind of creativity and what kind of cool mind they have.
Yeah, and it's just cool to see weed growing out of these
Yes.
interesting looking, sculptures or lunch boxes or whatever it might be. Something that's just not a normal black fabric pot or black plastic pot. It gives the whole plant a totally different look, and it's beautiful beyond belief. It's art, truly.
Yeah, it is wonderful.
Yeah, and I know with my pot, so I have the fortune, my trophy that I won from last year was by Mrs. Alebrije thrown. It's an original Alebrije pot, and it's it's a small one. I think it maybe is bigger than a quart or something. It's a pretty small one, and I happen to have this old clay bowl that it seated in perfectly and created a nice little seal. And in effect, once I started getting towards maybe halfway through, I just started kind of sub-irrigating from below it, and the roots had grown down through the hole that had been that cast with the pot, and it was actually treating like a sub-irrigated planter. And I got to the spot where I would water a little over the top, but always keep the res full, and I never had issues with the moisture in the soil.
I turned that frog planter I have is just a big old frog planter. But I covered the bottom in rocks and stuff, and I built a little soil thing that the solo cup sits on, so I could do a sip because, dude, sips make everything easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that's that's one of the challenges, and I think the other, like we've been talking about the really creative part about it. We've talked about the fun part about it and the bending and starting to, but there is a challenge. There's a lot of challenge to being able to keep a flower with enough nutrition to make it all the way through a full grow on such a small battery of soil. So what kind of things are you popping into your soil? Are you doing anything extra, or are you literally just taking soil and letting it ride?
Right now, it's just getting the leftovers of whatever the rest of the girls are getting.
That's how I do it. Yeah.
Lately, it's been alternating comfrey, labs tea, and then a humic acid and azomite tea, just EM1 and ferment. But just in water. Yeah, they all have like a nice rich soil to start, so they're just kind of cruising along. But yeah, I've already, like as you mentioned, like the first sets of leaves were, especially since mine is seeded, it's putting a lot of energy into these seeds now. But yeah, my first leaves were already yellowing up. I actually trimmed them off today, which was nice. It just would have opened her up a little bit anyway. But yeah, it is hard to keep them fed, and not just fed, but keep the feeding balanced, because it's such a small little, and it's great practice. It's just great practice for new growers to try to mess around with feeding regimens, and what can they handle, what's too much. But yeah, dialing it in a tiny little root zone is much more difficult, for sure. It's great practice.
I find I often always towards the end of flower overfeed. And I start burning the shit out of them because I'm trying to compensate from like, ooh, I missed quite a bit. So I'll kind of like give them a little more too much tea sometimes. And I'll be like, oh, shit. At least that was my last issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, when you've got a larger battery of soil, you don't have to worry about it as much. You can skip waterings, but those smaller pots, if you miss a couple days of it, they're going to start yelling at you pretty quickly. And so it is good lessons to see, because it's one of those like fail fast, fail hard, right? You see it happening right in front of you, and okay, it's fine. It's completely back to what we were saying before. If it totally, if you lose all the leaves off of it and you just have to give up and it just dies, oh wow, it's okay. Yeah. It was more about the creative aspect, is about the process of it and the connection of it. It's cool in the end. It's also great for us to post our pictures up and get everyone to see these really cool things. And once you kind of grow one, you kind of end up just growing them, whether you realize it or not. You know, whether you just got an extra solo left in the corner or something hanging over in the from your tent. Mine's on the kitchen counter right now because it's just the perfect little spot for it. I thought, hey, why not grow this one in the kitchen as much as I can until it starts to be a little bit too aromatic of an herb and I have to take it down, you know. But for now, why not? Like now I can watch it every day instead of having to go down to the tent. But I guess I go down there anyways. But you know, now I can watch this thing and train it on a daily basis and really appreciate it. And that's the fun part, is the process of it too, you know.
Totally. Yeah. And you know, traditional bonsai is all about age. And like you mentioned earlier, it's something that it's more in the final stages after it's been going typically years of, you know, training and whatnot. But this, you know, it moves a lot quicker, but it still is about the path and the journey and, you know, kind of messing around with it. Yeah. It's a great
and relative
opportunity
scale. It leans into the methods and techniques from bonsai, and that it's kind of a relative scale. And that's, you know, you asked earlier, Howling, some of the crazy things that we've done with the bonsai. I mean, I don't have a ton of experience around it, but things that I loved and one of the things that I really enjoyed was just making everything relative in size, and then using different elements of things that were like, I tend to use sticks that are meaningful things that I've brought back from different trips and elsewhere, stones from different paths or whatever. And then let the plant kind of grow around them so they become this, it's sort of like this dance of some sort between, you know, dead sticks that are half burnt from lightning, you know, on the top of the mountains and of the Rocky Mountain National Park, and this beautiful young, fresh, tender autoflower that's wrapping around it and growing with the bend of it. And there was just something really, really cool about that experience, the symbiotic nature of the two of them sitting next to each other. So it really is the creative path, like, and getting into it and learn. There's a lot to this little process that, you know, honestly, I mean, you don't really see a ton of it out there. There's a couple people on Instagram, if you go looking for them. There's a book out there. There's a few things on the YouTube, but really, it's, you know, I think our community has got a really good anchor. And from what I've seen elsewhere, is there anyone that you've seen jumps out that does bonsai work that we've seen? I mean, there's always the Cannabonsai Manny, right? I think is the one who we all tend to see first.
Manny, yeah, there was another guy named Patrick Coyle, I think it was. He lives out in San Diego. He and I linked up
already.
Yeah. We talked about it a lot like a few years back, and he was super into it, and he got me into like starting to plant mosses around.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because the mosses carry so many other little micro seeds within them that midway through the grow you start getting little oxalis sprout up or some little type of grass or other little weeds coming out of the moss, and it adds a whole nother element to it. But he hasn't been active. That was like 4 years ago. I haven't seen him on Instagram in a while. But yeah, the whole thing, I used to see a lot more of it 4 or 5 years ago. But I don't know. I feel like the social media world has like really narrowed our view, the cannabis, you know, sector specifically. I think I only see like maybe 5% of the people I follow. I see their posts probably.
Yeah.
It's too insular sometimes too. It's just, you're like, man, show me everything. I want to see so much cool people doing cool stuff.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'll see someone and be like, oh my God, I forgot that person existed. And then I'll go check out their account. I've been missing stuff for months. It's like, oh man, dude, this sucks.
Well, and in that point, I think we spend a lot of time in our Discords, and there's been a lot of traction over on. We have, both of ours are really active, and you know that we've got the Cannabonsai Grow Along going on, hosted over there, and so I mean, collectively, probably right now in current time, that may be the largest amount of Cannabonsai in one spot, right? Documented in one area. So hey, we got something going, man. We got something going, right?
Yeah, totally.
It also behooves us to mention Growing the Mittens Dazed Grow Along going on in the same Discord. Alebrije's popping with Grow Togethers if you guys want to go check it out always. But yeah, growing the mitten, Dazed, super excited about that too.
Shout out to our favorite corgi owner.
Well, I mean, Jesus, I'm right here, dude. Yeah, you hear that, Captain? Yeah, put him on your list too.
He's only half corgi.
And he's half pissed.
Yeah.
That was a full corgi only comment.
Yeah, no. I know how. No, I'm just kidding. No, he sent those cool little corgi things out to everybody, so he's definitely got that secret there, secret weapon.
He's a good dude. He's
a great dude.
It's fun to watch his tent.
Yeah, he's probably one of the best guilt trippers in the community too. That motherfucker. He got Howling to grow that Phantasmo.
Howling's easy to guilt into shit.
Yeah, that's why he's on the show.
Obviously.
I'm glad you reminded me about that Phantasmo. It's sitting in the dry tent, and I completely forgot about that. She is the most neglected girl I have ever grown in my life. And it's not, I mean, it was just the time that she started growing. I just had little attention span for things, and she just thrived in spite of me. And so, yeah, it's in the tent right now. I'm glad to try that soon.
Oh, yeah.
So what seeds are you growing for Cannabonsai then? Everybody, anyone rounds on those? Anyone who wants to start?
Yeah, I had my selection and I talked to Alebrije about it, but I changed it and haven't told them. I'm going with the frog mix because I actually want to give the first freebie that a cosmic, what is it? Cosmic
Pulpato.
Yes. I want to give her a proper run eventually. So I don't want to mess up because
yeah. No, so many good comments about that one. That's the Star Crunch from Night Owl. Cross with my dog walker. That's the octopus duck. It's in F2 right now. That's hopefully one I'll get to this next year and
yeah, you've got
try to dial it in.
Plate. Especially with that tangy reversal you were showing off.
Yeah, speaking of that one and Phantasma, I have a whole pack of Phantasma pops getting hit by Tangy, amongst other things. I like to pop packs, so I see a lot of different phenos, and it's fun. Phantasma is an interesting one. I was glad they finally re-released it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have really liked it, and I know that even Howling not caring about the grow, it turned out great, and there's some people that grew really great plants. But I'm excited about that reversal. For sure, 2023 going into 2024, the year of the narrow leaf.
It is gonna there's
gonna be no. Stop.
Well, on that note, we've been chatting in the Discord. There is gonna be a wolf strain coming out early in 2024, but yeah,
Lobo Loco.
most of the rest of the year is probably going to be a lot of tangy work from different angles. They got a lot going on with it. Sometimes as the pollen donor, and sometimes as the mom. But yeah, it's one the community fell in love with. I love it more every day.
That's wonderful stuff.
Yeah, just wanted to pursue different avenues with it.
So Tangy's a little bit of a bitter subject for me right now. Is I'm at my summer place because I had to take my boat out, and so I packed this little weed bag, so I could smoke a few joints when I'm up here. And so I have my jar that's written Tangy on the top. So I was like, yes, this is gonna be the greatest thing today. I'm alone. I have no kids. I have nothing. I'm gonna do it. And the jar is empty. I'm so pissed,
dude.
I failed myself. It sucked. I was so mad.
Oh man. I am looking at the last crumbs of the jar of purple Pantaranya, which is another daytimer, and it's the only daytimer uplifting antidepressant one I have in my stash right now.
Ooh.
And I'm looking at the end of it. It's gonna be gone by tomorrow. Yeah, it's always a sad day when you finish that one you really enjoyed.
I know.
I've got more on the way, but yeah, it's gonna be another.
I'm on the other side than you two right now. Because I just harvested that juicy Quinn and it just finished drying, and like I was telling you, dude, it is fucking wonderful. But I'm staring at a tote. Like, I'm super lazy, so I just trimmed it into totes, and then they're sitting in totes, and I'm going, I'm gonna get to that, and then I fall asleep. But it's sitting in their totes right now, and I keep grabbing from it, and it makes work so much more enjoyable.
I have a little game playing with my wife right now. The second Shangri-La plant, I decided not to trim. I just hated doing it. I was like, I'm done. It's going in the Grove bags. And so we're now at like a little standoff is who's trimming that bag. And I keep on telling her, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. You can go do it. You can contribute to it. And so, yeah, we have like this one bag that no one's touching because it's not trimmed yet. We're just seeing who's going to crack first because it sucks.
Well, what's even funnier is to get to the level of trim that I trim at takes very little effort because I don't trim very far. Like, I have to basically, I take a bud and then I rip out leaves and shit before I put it in the grinder, right? Because I'm like, that's good enough. I ain't trying to impress anybody. But even sometimes I'm like, I just got to take off some fucking actual leaves. Why can't I take them out? Like, it just, you get overwhelmed, especially when you do one and you have all of that sitting in a tub and you're like, well, I'm just going to pill from there.
Yeah, I am each time.
I'm kind of the same way. I like to leave a little extra leaf matter on it.
Mhm.
Not too much, but just enough for like, it's actually just sort of like a little cushion against the jar edge. So you're not losing too many trichome heads. And then, just like as you pull a bud out, you pull those couple, fans off and
it's just little bits, and then you grind it and you're golden. But yeah, I could definitely see if somebody picked up my jar, they'd be like, the fuck is this?
Yeah, it looks pretty rough
sugar,
from the outside.
If I see fucking sugar, it's going in the jar.
Yeah, I will say there's often times where I'm like, that's more sugar than leaf, I think.
Yeah, it's an added smoking herb as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's an extra leaf. It's a little bit harsher, but honestly, really, I mean, if you do smoke it, it's not that much harsher. I mean, if you're smoking like actual fan leaves, then you probably are like, there's plenty more you can be smoking. But honestly, like to your point, like if it's crystallized and it's dusty, like I think I found some double grape and sitting somewhere and it was coated with some of the fans. I was like, it's daytime, stored in there, and it's just fine and dandy. Maybe you lowered the potency, who knows? But still pretty incredible, still really incredible. I'm actually for my bonsai, I was actually wanting to ask you this. I've got I was gifted from the last year's prize a Cerro in an envelope, but TK by DW.
Yes, that was the Triangle Kush dog walker.
Oh yeah,
that was
awesome.
The biggest, best one I've seen was by Netty Gang, the homie from Australia.
I have to interject here because you said that. I forgot to bring him up with Ozzy, and he was very disappointed with me. So Netty, he is a talented grower, and that dude disappears to Bali to surf all the time like a sumbitch and just post pictures. Makes me feel like a piece of shit.
Oh God, yeah, he lives in the most beautiful area of Australia and is always making me jealous with his morning shots of the surf. But he's a great, very talented grower. He did an awesome tangy grow, by the way. Shout out to Netty. But he grew a really sick, and he's not a fan of like the funky terps as much. He's more of he likes the fruity and the candy kind of stuff. But he said it was super rank. And
great. In my kitchen, awesome.
And he gave it to some like Australian old timers, and they were like medicinally, they said it was great, I believe. But they said like the smell was just like not to their cup of tea. And I was like, dude, that's just like an American Ken OG, man. Like welcome to America,
yeah, exactly. Get used to it. According to Johnny, it's the state, so soon.
So
leave my uneducated ass out of this.
No, that'd be awesome to see what you get out of it. I'm running Blues Rosso for mine, and so now it's gonna have this little tangy pollen, and it's gonna be the tangy Zeroso, and then those seeds are gonna end up being some of the prize. It's feminized. It's gonna be some of just the little for fun prize seeds that
Oh,
go to
wonderful.
each bonsai winner that came out of my bonsai. So
Awesome.
kind of ties
Speaking
it
of
all
Blues
back in.
Rosso, Blues Rosso F1 freebies on that purple, right?
Yeah, the original version, which
How
is like
incredible.
some of the biggest, iciest nuggets I've ever grown.
That was the one that Captain Autoflower was raving about for weeks, right?
Yeah, I think he grew that one. There's been a handful of variations. No, I think the first one he grew was the F2, but of the version 1.
Mhm.
So this is the F1 of that version 1. It was the first Blues Arista format I ever made, and they're
Hell yeah.
killer. Yeah. I tried to push it further with that line, and it had a few hiccups, but the F1s were like straight up solid, and I had a ton of them. So I ended up like reworking the whole line from scratch and selected new parents, but I never ran into an issue with any of the original F1s. So I decided to throw them in, as I had a bunch of them. I throw them in as the freebie for the purple Pantarania. So I've gotten like endless requests for Blues Rosso to make a comeback. So I was trying to give those that missed out the first time another shot, at least for now.
Dope.
At least for now. Yeah, I'm just a few days away from harvesting the purple rockberry and Steve's purple acid.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it's cola's like like a shampoo bottle, dude. It's enormous. It's gorgeous.
That is purple Pantarania. That's what's
Really.
Yeah, that's what's coming out. I forgot. Was that one of the testers I gave you last
Yeah,
week?
dude. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, that's cool that you're growing it. Now you know what it is.
dude, that's fucking incredible, man.
I'm on my like third round of testers of them, so I forgot that. Yeah, I produced them a while ago, but that's what's coming out October 28th.
Holy smokes, man! Now I just got even more excited. I can't. I mean, I gave it an extra. I looked at it 2 days ago, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it ride for the rest of the weekend. But it is absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything so gorgeous. It's really beautiful.
Showing much purple or not really?
Oh, I'll put some pictures up. It's inky purple. It's
nice.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the most purple I've ever grown in that tent, and I was shooting for it this time to see how far I could push with it. So definitely delivered, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Most of them show it in one way or another, but a lot of the times, or not a lot of times, like one of the three main phenos I've seen is like it's green throughout most of its lifespan, but in the end it just like starts to like shade purple on the outside, and the other two are like purple pretty much all through and through. But
you'll see.
I made this one for our buddy Captain Autoflower because he hates purple.
Well, I planted it with the intent to get as much purple as I could, so it is absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. It really is. It's cool to grow in there. It's next to the Thorpe's Gold, which is shown quite a bit, and the Microverse Morsels V2. So my tent is beautiful right now in color.
Oh yeah, that's
beautiful in color.
Nice lineup, man.
Yeah. Rudy's Cherries and Berries is in there. It's a little bit slower. It's just starting into the semester, but the others have been just incredible to watch. Really beautiful colors.
Nice.
Yeah.
How indeed wonderful. Unfortunately, I've got a question to ask you, beautiful people. I was going to swear, but you know what? Alebrije always puts me in a good mood, so I'm not going to. This one is inspired by a conversation we had earlier and Johnny's just fashionable shirt, because he looks, as I must say myself, stunning. But
handsome.
I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time. I'm going to need, it doesn't have to be your favorite. It doesn't have to be the best. Just a cartoon from your childhood that stood out. Now, because Alebrije is the guest, I'll let him go first so that we don't take it from him. Alebrije, what's a cartoon you remember from your childhood that really stood out?
I was like a big Nickelodeon kid. I was born in '88, so the '90s were like my generation as a kid. My decade as a kid.
We're the two youngest on this episode. It's so funny.
I would say Johnny's shirt makes it too easy. Rugrats was a big one of mine. I enjoyed, but There were also some weirder ones that, like, looking back as an adult, like, probably made me a weirder person today. And one of them was one called Rocco's Modern Life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah, and like looking back, there was like some really weird
Oh, yeah.
stuff going on in it. Honestly,
There is some trippy shit that we missed that I look back on too and go, wow, that was right over my head, thank goodness. But yes, what a wonderful one. Now, let's go to the most talkative member of us all, Howling.
I guess if you twist my arm, I'll talk. I think it's a tie between Snorks and the Adventures of Gummy Bears.
The Adventures of Gummy Bears. I do remember that one.
You do? Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
It was a good one. The first one makes it sound like I've never heard of, and I assume that was.
You never heard of Snorks? Oh,
no,
man.
A bit before my time. I think that one was even before the Wheels time.
I think so. At the advent of the street lamp. Yep.
Yeah, the Adventures of Gummy Bears, that's a good one. Let's see, do I go? I'm gonna go with Stoney.
Well, there's my daily driver would have been G.I. Joe, so that would have been the only thing that got me off of that. The only thing that got me off of PBS, because I think Julia Child was on right before, and then G.I. Joe came on, and then after that was Great Chefs, Great City. So that was my cartoon break in the afternoon. But I was a huge fan of Hanna-Barbera, and the Grape Ape on Sunday mornings was one of my other favorite ones too. So that was one that always popped up right before wrestling was on later on, or Kung Fu. The Kung Fu shows popped on in the afternoon. So late morning Hanna-Barbera for that generation that knows. That's all got just warm and fuzzy right now and went, oh yeah, now I know how old he is.
Johnny, whatever you are doing, I don't know, but will you please tell me a cartoon?
DuckTales.
Oh.
He went and got all of his pillows and plushies, and he's got them all laid out. I said, no, sorry, you can't see this, but
you were doing prop comedy on a audio podcast.
And listen to
I
you
love you so much. DuckTales is a fantastic one. I was actually just
but
about
we got another fucking question for him. We got a chef, another fucking chef. Cheese or pepperoni when you walk into a pizza joint for the first time ever and you're getting a slice? Are we going cheese or pepperoni?
I've been on the show before, man.
Yeah,
I got that question last time.
Last time you were here, you asked him that question.
I'm pepperoni.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, we already went over that. We even
Jesus Christ,
already
how long
talked
have we
about
been
the
doing
first
this show?
year.
You guys smoke too much weed. You forgot that we already did this. Why'd you let me ask that question? You guys suck.
Well, first of all, because I wanted you to finish the whole thing before just so personally I could hold on to that memory. But no, more importantly, you guys all forgot Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man.
Yeah, true. Heroes in a Half Shell.
Well, I will.
Yeah, but I was a movie fan, not the cartoon fan.
The movie was good. The movie was good. But the next question I was going to ask, the third one that we don't talk about. The next question I was going to ask, though, was favorite turtle. Let's go Johnny first. What was your favorite Ninja Turtle?
I'm a Leonardo guy.
Me too. That's why we're friends. Alebrije, did you have a favorite Ninja Turtle?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was Raphael the Red.
Raphael, yeah.
I think it was Raphael, yeah.
There you go.
I don't remember why.
Were you somewhat conscious of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? No, I'm just kidding.
I did see it back in my time. Raphael, he was.
My grandchildren used to watch it.
Raphael's the two Raphaels.
Yeah.
Are you going Leonardo? I think I know this one. I think
he's a Mikey fan.
Yeah, he is. Michelangelo.
Why? Because he was sensitive and can kick everyone's ass at the same time. Gee, I wonder why.
I figured it was because he was the
creative one,
radical dude. Yeah. Well, no, it's because nobody wants to be Donatello. He had a stick.
Yeah, true. But he was the badass.
Did we give you the sandwich question too?
Yes.
Yeah. The torch.
How long ago were you on? You're on too much. He's not. What are you talking to? Guest? He's not a fucking guest anymore.
We've already established that.
I'm a host that's not on 99% of the episodes. Though.
He's everybody's favorite host because he doesn't get annoying.
shit.
So I've got another one. I'll do a culinary one that hits in, because this is one that I've gotten asked plenty of times, and sometimes we'll go out there. So everyone's got a bucket list, especially as a culinarian, of things that you wish you could try. And it could be a restaurant, it could be an ingredient, it could be a place to eat or a time or something like that. Something from that bucket list, something from your culinary bucket list. Before you die, what is it that you need?
The restaurant that it would have been, it closed down a few years ago, unfortunately. It was called Favakin in Sweden. I'd probably transition it to Noma in Copenhagen. Would probably be an epic meal that would be on my list. For many years, it was rated as the number one restaurant in the world, and they're all about local ingredients and pushing creative boundaries, and a lot of scientific research and fermentation and old world techniques like various kombuchas and ferments and what's the word, garums and whatnot. So some really interesting techniques, and I've known a lot of people that came in and out of that kitchen, and they came and did a pop-up and worked out of the kitchen I was in New York. So I got to meet a lot of the team, and I've just always had a lot of respect for them in that restaurant. And so that would be kind of an epic meal one day.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever had your own SCOBY?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I make kombucha pretty regularly. Since I quit drinking alcohol, it became like the perfect alternative to beer, taste wise, and where you feel like you're actually getting a little something out of it. You're getting some, probiotics and whatnot. But yeah, so making it super simple. You can literally do it, infuse it with any herb or juice or whatever. It's just you're looking for a certain Brix sugar content, and then you want it at a certain pH. So sometimes you need to add a little bit of the previous batch. It gets very sour and produces acetic acid. But then you basically just throw your SCOBY in, and it makes a new fresh batch, and you bottle it up, and it's very, very simple. One of the easiest things to make at home.
You ever played around with infusions of cannabis into beverages?
I have,
especially in kombucha, because something I was thinking about. Going down a rabbit hole thinking about beverages and cannabis is that you've got the bitterness, the tones that come through with cannabis, and so the only thing that took to me was like, how do you get sugar, how do you get acid and fizz going in? And my head went straight to something like kombucha. So have you played around with infusions?
I have. I've made infused kombuchas many times. I've used both sugar simple syrups as well as glycerin, vegetable glycerin, as my infusion base. The difficult part is just maintaining that emulsification of the fat-based cannabinoid in water, a water-based kombucha. But the glycerin has probably had like the best results, although it's got like a slightly metallic aftertaste. So it's not ideal for that, but you're certainly getting it in the simple syrup, but it's some of it I believe is separating out onto the surface level.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could talk all day about various emulsification methods, but I made a product years ago meant to like increase the bioavailability of orally consumed cannabis, and I did a whole mess of research and various methods into the emulsification process.
Oh, wow.
But there's a lot of options, but simply speaking, it works. It works with just simple syrup.
I think we can add that to the list of shit to have Alebrije talk about next time we have an episode. That sounds super fucking interesting. Every time he opens his mouth, it's something more impressive.
And I think people would be fascinated too.
Yeah, and I was going to say, just because you hear it from everybody else, you are indeed too cool for us, so we appreciate you slumming it with you.
If we could just glean these little pickles off the top of you on the occasion, yeah.
I mean, when I learned, it was like a big wake-up call. It's like, oh, hey, when you eat edibles, do you know you're only getting like between 4 to 20% is actually like of the THC or whatnot is actually like making it into your bloodstream and triggering those receptors. And I don't know, I just like was immediately interested in how do you increase that? Like, why are we wasting so much? And so, I mean, a lot of it was just like standard pharmaceutical techniques, and then others are methods into like how you can trick the liver into not, eliminating some of the good cannabinoids that you want. That's its job. It sees it all as toxins, so it's meant to eliminate these toxins when it encounters it. But there's ways to inhibit liver function temporarily to let things pass through. There's various oils that can get absorbed directly into the lymphatic system and bypass the liver. There's a number of methods to increase bioavailability of edibles. But yeah, like I said, it's like an hours long discussion.
Yeah. And maybe we'll dig into it because I think it is something that I know a lot of people in our community make some level of edibles, especially when you start adding gelatin into things and you start locking that up. To your point, you add 10% more gelatin per scale, and all of a sudden you've now locked up 20-30% of the cannabis not being able to really have its impact into it. So it can make a difference. So I think, yeah, maybe next time we're back on, we'll chat a little bit more about edibles. I know that's probably a
definitely
fascinating one, and I know there's a lot of different ways that we've talked about doing outside of the norm. So it'd be a cool conversation to have.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask, because I'm sure we've missed something, but is there anything anyone wanted to talk about that we didn't touch before I send it to plugs? Because once I start this motherfucking train, there ain't no stopping it.
I think we've touched quite a bit. We talked a lot about we got all of the information about the grow along. We talked around the bonsai, and I think we unearthed some stuff for the next couple episodes that we'll drag him back onto, because now we'll just have excuses to get it back on. So
next time he won't be so eager to talk, because it just ends with him coming more and more. Okay, I'm going to kick it to plugs. We'll start with Alebrije before it descends into nonsense. Alebrije, do you have anything that you would like to plug? Anything coming up other than whatever you want to talk about?
I think we've mentioned everything, but I'll reiterate. Just Growing in the Mittens Days Sobrana Grow Along, kicking off tomorrow in the Discord, the Alebrije Discord. Our Bonsai Grow Along, and then the Purple Pantaranya drop on the October 28th coming up. Oh, and any Virginia folks out there, on November 4th, we're doing a little in-person pop-up drop at Homegrown Virginia in Richmond. It's going to be
so much.
There'll be more information coming, but yeah, mark your calendars.
Excellent. I'm only slightly jealous of Virginia now, which is something I did not think I would ever feel. That's right. I'm moving on to V-letter states to trash. No, I'm just kidding. Alan, anything to plug?
Yeah, I want to plug a breeder I've talked about before, Jinx Proof. Go follow him on Instagram. His Discord recently got shut down by bullshit community guidelines, some of which you may have seen on your various Discords. Some of them are shutting down over some silly rules. So one of the ways he connected with his community was through his Discord, and that got shut down. So really through his site and Instagram are really the only ways to get in contact with him anymore. So, just shout out to him. Go check out his gear. Give him a follow. See if it's something you like.
Perfect. Howling, that was excellent. Stoney.
Yeah, my this one actually goes a long way back, almost a full year. I want to call out Alebrije Ceramics. I know you've heard me talk. Heard me talk about her a little bit throughout the show. If you have been to the website, if you're in the jam, or if you're in the drops for like the first 14.78 seconds and able to have access to any of her creative work, if not, you really should see it from a visual perspective and find her on Instagram. I too, just like everyone else, waits for those to come. And as we said before, these are handcrafted. These are not mass production scale. These are something that she does for labor of love, and something that she is really, I see innovation happening with her. I see things getting better every single time. It's really fantastic to watch. I can tell that it's something that is a true passion for the both of you. So that's my big call out is if you haven't gone and seen her work, go find the links, go find the tree, go find her on the website. But Alebrije Ceramics for sure.
Perfect. Well spoken. I saved the best for last as always. Johnny, hit us with your plugs.
So Sky High, Mac Attack Gardens. Good to talk to you guys. Ain't seen you in a while. Go fuck yourselves. Also, save the Paros. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
See ya.
digging what we do.
As always, I ain't got shit to plug. Adios, amigos.